Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Market Bites, the last one of April. It's the penultimate day of the fourth month of the year. It just goes too quickly, but at least I'm joined by two of my favourites to discuss it all, the dream team, Brett and Nezha. I'm looking forward to going through it all with you both. Nezha, how are you?
Hi Sam, hi Brett. I'm doing well, but I'm exciting to hear from Brett, who is at Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas. And how are you, Sam? Yeah, I forgot to ask you.
All good my end. I mean, my mood will change drastically in about, what time is it? 3, 8, 5, 6, 7 hours. Arsenal are playing in the semi-final of the Champions League. So for our US audience that maybe doesn't like soccer, that's like the semi-final, the NBA playoffs or the Super Bowl. It's that big. So fingers crossed, yeah, for me. Although for any Spanish listeners that support Atletico Madrid, you'll want me to have a terrible evening, and I understand that. But I'm also very intrigued to hear from you, Brett. You're in Vegas. Tell us a little bit about it, and have you had any fun?
Yeah, I think we're saving all the fun for the sports book tonight for the Arsenal game. Um, no, it's been fun. So we're at Bitcoin Las Vegas. It's a 3-day conference that pretty much covers everything from high level, like Michael Saylor type speeches, down to like the nittiest, grittiest details of cold storage and the future direction of you know decentralized currencies and the whole works of it. I mean, realistically, Javi should be here, our Spanish analyst who just lives and breathes the crypto space. But no, it's been really fun. It feels like the attendance maybe it feels lower than it did last year. I don't know if that might just be like more of an anecdotal observation based on like where our booth is this year versus last year. Maybe has some impact on traffic and whatnot. But at the other hand, Bitcoin is down a lot from its highs, and at the time last year we were trading near or around all-time highs. So definitely, I think the vibe, the mood was a little bit better from that perspective. But the people at the conference this year are what you'd expect. It's a resilient group. I mean, retail was really the sort of the first on the ground level with Bitcoin, and so they've been through the big ups and the big downs, and they're pretty comfortable with the roller coasters. So there's not like a bunch of crying and pouting at the conference. It's a good vibe overall.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably better that the conference was happening now rather than when it was trading at 60,000, right? Where it dropped over 50% and it's recovered a fair whack since then. Was it 70, mid 70s, closer to 80,000 depending when people listen to this, I guess. Yeah, I'm just having a look now, 76,500. But yeah, it would be interesting to map out attendance and price of different crypto assets, Bitcoin
Yeah.
in particular, to see how all that goes. Nezha, you were saying, and this is going to be interesting to you. You got a little bit of a stat around the conference, is that right?
Yeah, I came across an interesting fact. Like it's it's based on Bitcoin performance after conference since 2019. So the fact goes that Bitcoin has dropped in the 30 days after 5 out of 6 completed conferences, and the average decline is around 12%. But some years we saw even larger moves, like in 2022, when the drop was roughly 30%. So I'm wondering what this year is going to bring us.
Interesting.
I'm not gonna walk around with that stat today.
No, no.
Yeah, keep that to yourself. Just listening to that, it made me think of something I saw on, I think it was Twitter. Could have been anywhere, but it was talking about the impact on Bitcoin when a new Fed chair is announced. And
Ooh.
I think there is absolutely no correlation. It just happens to be a period where these things have happened before. But if we go back to 2014, it dropped 84%. We go back to 2018, it dropped 73%. We go back to 2022, Jerome Powell, it dropped 61%. So yeah, not the greatest of signs, but I think there's absolutely no correlation in all of that. But it's something that panicked a few people, and then you start thinking, God, it's 84, 73, 61%. Oh my goodness, was not what people would want. But how's the day been looking, Brett? Is it media stuff? Is it meetings? Is it listening to your Michael Saylor types?
Honestly, yeah, all the above. There's plenty of media stuff going on, but even just like chatting with the people that come up to like so eToro has its own booth set up for the 3 days, and so some people come up are institutional based, and you're talking multi-million dollar accounts, even treasury accounts for some of the bigger firms. They're dealing with pretty serious capital, and then you have other people there that are just getting started, and they deposit a few $100s, and they're just trying to learn about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general, and are just they're there to learn, and kind of having those conversations, that whole range of conversations is pretty fun. I mean, you really hear a lot of different perspectives and thoughts and predictions, and some people are very conservative with their outlook. Some people are really aggressive. So it's been fun. I'm curious to see what the final day will have later today.
Well, I hope you have some spare time at some point to have a little bit of a fun. I've been Vegas twice myself. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. I've only really been awake during the days, so because of the jet lag, I'm up super
Yeah.
early, and like a 5 a.m. and by the time it gets to midnight, I'm ready to sleep. So I need to go back and actually experience it the other way around. But hopefully you do have a little bit of fun there. As we said, Bitcoin trading about 76,000, but up nicely off of those lows that we saw earlier this year at 60,000. And I do wonder if we had said to people, let's just go back and say when crude oil was trading at 92,000. So that would have been the 22nd, so last Wednesday, right? If we had said, if this is a question we had finished on last week, where we go, fast forward 7 days, aka now, crude oil was trading at $103. Where do you think the Nasdaq or the S&P will be? I
Sure.
don't think we'd have answered where it is right now. It's holding up incredibly well, considering oil just in that week period. Crude oil is up as of right now 12% from in a week. Incredible moves, really. It's almost like the market's just saying, well, eventually it's going to be fine. But we might obviously we've got the Fed later today. What's the time now? 3:30, 3.5 hours time, where we'll hopefully get some interesting comments from the press conference. So I urge people to go through that. I've actually got the oil chart in front of me, and I'm going to blow my own trumpet here, because last week I drew a couple of random lines on a bit of technical analysis. I know not everyone believes in it or uses it, but my levels have been absolutely fantastic. Brett, you look at charts this way as well. It's always a bit of vindication when you look and be like, the market has only cared about my levels here, whether it be resistance or support. But what typically would happen is if I was to go trade this now, I would lose money and they would stop working.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting there. I mean, Nezha, I'm going to come to you, just a quick reactionary piece on oil being at $103, because the stock market in the US anyway is holding up really well. Yes, we had a down day yesterday, but it's almost, is it worrying for you, or are you of the view that the can's getting pushed down the road, everything's going to be fine? Or is there part of you now where you're like, inflation,
I think it's a very difficult period to predict where it is going to where we are going. I would say that the sentiment right now, it's cautiously optimistic and very fragile, because it's also one of the most important weeks for earnings season. Only today, we have reporting 5 of 7 Magnificent Seven companies, and those are Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta. So I think that also those information that we got from them will give us some kind of indication where we are going. And I think that market is looking forward to what they will have to say and what numbers they will report, and also guidance, what they will say about the following quarter. So yeah, I think that a lot of things will be clear this evening. Who will go to finals of Champions League? Then which companies will beat or miss earnings expectations, and also what Fed chairman will have to say. And nevertheless, this will be his last press conference. So I bet it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, it will, won't it? It will. I mean, for those in the UK that are listening to this, will probably be out sort of 4 or 5 o'clock p.m. I will miss the live reactions to earnings because they come out in the UK just after 9 o'clock. The second half would have just started, so I'll be relying on everyone else to tell me what's happened with Microsoft and Amazon and Meta and Alphabet. I mean, by the way, this is market cap wise, it's got to be up there as one of the biggest days ever, maybe.
It's about 12 trillion with just those 4.
Incredible. I'd be surprised if there was a bigger day, and if there is, do let us know. Just having a look at some of the companies that have already reported. I had a bit of focus on Spotify yesterday. They were down 11-12%. I think they beat on some metrics, but I think guidance was a little bit wishy-washy. And it goes back to Nezha, what you just said there, and then again what we said again last week, where any doubts in any of the report or your guidance, you're getting punished out here. Whereas Coca-Cola, I think their guidance was okay, and they had a pretty good time from their earnings as well. But capex numbers, Brett, for these big tech companies, they'll be a focus again, won't they? And all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So as Nezha said, we've got Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, and Meta all reporting today. Apple tomorrow. Not to say Apple doesn't matter to me, but when it comes to these companies, when it comes to Mag 7 and their AI investments, Apple, we've talked about this, I think, a quarter or two ago, debating whether it was the smart play or if they're going to ultimately miss out, but they're not really investing heavily in AI. And so for that reason, I'm more focused on the 4 that are reporting today. You've got Amazon and Alphabet both hit all-time highs. Amazon really came out of nowhere. This has been in the doldrums for a while, and it just is rocketed over the last month. But those 2 are at all-time highs. And then you have Microsoft and Meta. I think Microsoft's still in a bear market technically. It's down a little over 20%, but Meta is 15% off its highs. I'm curious to see first, how do investors react to their updated capex guides? It shouldn't be as much of a shock factor, I don't think, as last quarter. For a lot of those companies, it was the new fiscal year, so they were giving the full year guide. It should be closer to consensus expectations this time around, I think. But still curious to see how are investors going to react to these numbers? Are they still going to be really fiscally disciplined and say hey, you're spending too much and we're not seeing that return yet? So I want to see how they react. And then of course, as I mentioned, the Amazon and Alphabet are at the highs, Meta, Microsoft not. Do we sort of see a rebalance there? See some of those names come in and see maybe a little bit of rebound, or do we see that bifurcation even separate itself even more? So that's kind of what I'll be watching from the big guys tonight.
Yeah, bring it on.
I think that there is not only about capex, that there will be also lots of focus on relationship between revenue and capex, because if spending is going up, revenue needs to follow. And I think that if investors will see that revenue is already following, that's going to be a positive news for investors. But if it doesn't, the market will start to worry that we are in a bubbly-like phase regarding AI, that we are just putting money in AI, but there are no results yet. So I know that we've been repeating ourselves with that, but I think that is the main story about this earnings season, and this is this will matter the most.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
sorry, go on.
And you see that when you're talking about the AI trade, it's we're looking at the sort of quote unquote the bottleneck part of the AI trade on the hardware side. These names are going STX this morning. It's these memory plays, the optics plays. These things are exploding. I think STX was up 600% over the last year before today's move. You look at Microns, all these names, even Intel. Intel was left for dead a year ago, and now it's it's come back to life. It's all of these names are doing so well on that side, but you look at software, and it's the complete opposite side of things. Even the companies that are supposed to be benefiting or will supposedly benefit down the road, these names have been crushed. We haven't really had a good look at them earnings wise. Microsoft will sort of be the,
Yep.
I think maybe like a good lead. We'll hear from them later. Not Microsoft, but software later in the season. But Microsoft will be a good tell in terms of investors' appetite towards software, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned Intel. They're up year to date 148%, which is
No way.
incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon you will. I'm going to ask a question here, and I think you I'm confident at least one of you are going to get it right. So don't let me down, guys. And everyone at home as well, have a little guess. I think for a lot of people at home, it'll be a little bit tougher, especially if you're not involved in the markets all the time. What is the leading year-to-date stock in the S&P 500, do you think? I can give you a clue if you want.
It's SanDisk.
It's SanDisk again. So last year, 2025, I don't even know exactly what it finished up, but again, leading the way, which is incredible. Just if the source I'm looking at is correct, it's up 359% this year, which is just remarkable. What they're doing, incredible. I was also
Yeah, I remember, what was it, 3 weeks into the year? It was like mid-January, and Yoni posted in our chat and said, "Is this right?" It was up like 60 or 70%. It was crazy.
yeah, they
And I
manufacture
think that we
design.
also spoke about it on our last episode of the year, that it is
Yes.
like it's completely outperformed everything in
Yeah.
2025.
Incredible. They manufacture and design flash memory storage solutions amongst other little bits and pieces. And they report tomorrow after the close as well. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. Also, another company that, I mean, there's so many big names reporting this week that we haven't talked about. I'm actually really interested to see what Caterpillar say and do. I mean, they've been on an incredible run over the last year and a half, 2 years, and they're actually a decent AI play as well. For a lot of people, they've really changed their business around and are thriving. You've got on Friday ExxonMobil and Chevron. With everything that's gone on last few months, it'll be fascinating to see the impact for them and what they're thinking and their guidance. I think people are probably bored to death of us talking about the importance of guidance, but these are the companies you want to hear it from, right? They're companies that have a big correlation with oil prices going up or down, right? What are you thinking? How are you using what you're seeing to forecast in the future? That'd be fascinating. Who else have we got? Just looking here, Eli Lilly as well. There'll be a lot of focus on them tomorrow before the open. I think last time I checked, or at some point last year, they were right on their all-time high as well. So they've been on a great run. We've got Riot, you've got Reddit as well, ConocoPhillips, Moderna. Oh, what a week, honestly. What a fantastic week. Brett, any sort of names consumer-wise you've been keeping an eye on?
Yeah, so the beginning earnings season is always fun for me because we hear from the banks right off the bat, and then I feel like they've almost like slipped down the calendar a little bit, but Visa and MasterCard are always great listens for me. Visa's up like 8 or 10% this morning after their strong numbers. I was going after Visa report. I was going back over American Express's numbers. That was a week or two ago, and they had like the best year-over-year card spend in like 3 years. I mean, the consumer, we read all these headlines, and there is a worry that, and some of the conference calls have alluded to it being sort of a delay effect when it comes to inflation and rising gas prices. But everything we're hearing from, like, Starbucks reported last night, they're up nicely today. They even raised their guidance actually for the year, which is kind of a rarity. I feel like in the current environment, it seems like management teams are not really jumping ahead of themselves to raise their numbers. So I think a lot of them are playing it conservatively, but I'd be curious. MasterCard reports in the morning. I imagine they'll probably kind of reiterate a lot of the same talking points as Visa. They just tend to kind of be in tandem with each other. But you keep hearing that. I think, what was it? Starbucks last night said, we haven't seen a lot of the macro effects trickle into consumer behavior as it relates to Starbucks. But we kind of heard that echoed throughout various calls so far this season, and certainly from the banks and the credit cards. The spending's been strong, both discretionary and non-discretionary items. So that's hugely important for the direction of the economy.
Yeah. Ne- Neja, just a quick question, because a lot of people that listen to this are new to the investing world, and for some people it would almost be the first earnings season that they've had. And just from your perspective, a lot of people here as well, they'll hear the reports tonight about Microsoft or Amazon or Meta or Alphabet, that they smashed earnings or they missed earnings, and the sort of naivety of some investors be to jump straight in and make a decision. Would that be ever something you would do, or is it always take a step back, see what happens tomorrow, read through the report, and have a bit of patience? Is that the way you would go about it?
Yeah, definitely. But it's difficult to do that when earnings come out and you see that big reaction in the market, and if you already own the stock and you see that it's down 10%, and you feel nervous, you don't know should you buy more, and you believe in the business, but you're kind of resisting to put more money into it, especially if you're new to the markets, and you rather think about selling a portion of your investment. So it's really difficult to avoid this emotions when you're first in investing for the first time. So yeah, I would like to mention for all our beginner investors among our listeners to enroll our course for beginner investors. I think, Sam, you need to put a link in the episode description. But yeah. Definitely, I would do a step back and take a look at the bigger picture, because there is more to the story always, and there are those headline numbers that everyone is focusing on, but to really understand the business, you need to go through the earnings report itself and to really understand what is happening and why we saw the move that we did, and to actually understand where the companies are going and if it's a positive news or not. As you said last time about cutting employees of the companies, that you would think that there will be a negative reaction on the market. When you're new to the market, you would expect that there will be a negative reaction, but actually most of the times we see is a positive reaction when we see that a company is cutting their costs, even if they have to fire thousands of people.
Yeah, I think it's important for everyone listening to this, new and old, in terms of experience, is to have a plan. A lot of these stocks, you may have them in your portfolio, but have a plan. Is there a level where you don't want to be in the stock anymore, or you want to add to that position? Having that plan just will help you deal with those emotions a lot easier. I think if you go in with no idea of what you want to do, that's when it can lead to decisions you don't really want to take either. But yeah, we'll know a lot more about the market by the end of the week. We really, 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 really will. Whether it be Fed, whether it be earnings, whether it be update with oil, and of course tomorrow is the last trading day of April. And actually, I've got a couple of interesting stats here. So the S&P 500, the last 14 Mays, 12 have been positive. The last 14 Junes, 11 have been positive. The last 14 Julys, 13 have been positive. Of course, there's no guarantee the next 3 months are all going to be green, but they're in a period where it actually doesn't look too bad, and selling may go away. Obviously, a very famous saying there, but it looks like May, June, and July historically are not too bad. A couple of stocks that have come under pressure in the last sort of 24 hours so far, down 9% or so. Robinhood, we're not going to boo, don't worry, are down 11% or so. And some implied moves for tonight. Again, there's no guarantee it happens. Microsoft, and these are all going to be plus or minus. 7.2%, Meta 7.1%, Google, which has just hit an all-time high, by the way, 5.3%, Amazon 7%. So some pretty sizable moves there could be expected. Again, there's no guarantee that it happens. Brett, what was the just before we wrap up, what does the rest of the day look like for you? Will you be keeping an eye on these earnings, or am I going to hear from you tomorrow deep in Bellagio somewhere on a table?
It's yeah, you should hear about the numbers at some point. I can't guarantee when, I guess, but at the top of the show when you said it was going to be a busy night, I didn't know that it was going to be Arsenal was your number one reason for it. And you can tell what a busy couple hours we have ahead of us when the Fed is on tap and we've hardly talked about it. So it's it's going to be an interesting 12 hours, I guess you can say, if you count everything.
Yeah, it really will. And we'll do an emergency podcast, everyone, if the Fed do decide to raise or cut interest rates. But you have our word that they're not going to do that this time out, I hope. Neja, Brett, as always, thank you very much, Brett. Enjoy the rest of your trip in Vegas.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Look forward to next week.
See ya.